Okay, so when you think about Finnish architecture, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably Helsinki, right? Well, right next door, the city of Vantaa tells a quieter but maybe even more fascinating story. It's not some grand story about monuments, but about, well, real life. A city built one practical step at a time. So let's dive in.
So yeah, you've got Helsinki, the famous capital, on one side, and then you've got Vantaa, the story next door. And while Helsinki kind of hogs the spotlight, Vantaa's architecture, it actually reveals something really essential about Finland's entire journey, from a rural forest-based society to a modern planned nation. And that's the hidden story we're going to uncover.
Which really brings us to the core question here. I mean, what if all those so-called boring buildings, the apartment blocks, the farmhouses, the factories, what if they actually tell a city's most interesting story? That's the lens we're going to be using to look at Vantaa.
Okay, so to really get the Vantaa of today, we have to rewind the clock, way back. Because for most of its history, this place, well, it wasn't a city at all. Think forests, farms, and rivers.
And just look at how the environment shaped these first buildings. It's so direct. I mean, everything was practical. You used local pine or spruce. Why? Because it was right there. Designs were simple, built to survive those harsh winters, not to win any design awards. And that iconic red paint, you know the one, that wasn't just for show. It's actually an iron oxide pigment that helped protect the wood. Super smart. This was architecture literally born from pure necessity.
But then, back in the 15th century, something shifted. The St. Lawrence Church shows up, and it marks this huge change. Think about it. For the first time, people were building something to last, something permanent, not just for one family's survival, but for the whole community. And by using stone instead of wood, they basically created the area's first real landmark.
But that quiet rural landscape, it was about to be completely, and I mean completely, transformed. The engines of the modern world were on their way, and they were about to change absolutely everything.
You know, you can actually trace Vantaa's whole story just by looking at the materials they used to build it. For centuries, it was just wood. Simple. Then, boom, the railway shows up in the 19th century, and with it comes brick, heavy industrial brick for factories and stations. And then, after World War II, a whole new crisis demanded a brand new material, concrete. It was needed to build housing for thousands of people, and fast.
And this was the huge make-or-break challenge for post-war Finland. You've got a massive housing shortage, incredible economic pressure. The old way of building one wooden house at a time? No way. It just wasn't going to cut it. The country needed a new solution and a new style of architecture to make it happen.
And that solution was something called functionalism. The whole idea is right there in the name. Function dictates form. Function comes first. Forget about fancy decorations or expensive details. The goal was simple. Build affordable homes that were easy to maintain and do it as quickly as humanly possible.
So what does that actually look like? Well, flat roofs, they're cheaper. Clean, simple lines, super efficient to build. And those big windows, they let in all that precious light, which is a huge deal during those long, dark Finnish winters. This entire philosophy is what led directly to the rise of the apartment block. It was just a super practical way to house a lot of families on a small piece of land.
All of this construction really set the stage for Vantaa's official birth as a city. This was a totally new era, defined by huge, large-scale, systematic urban planning.
And then in 1972, it's official. Vantaa wasn't just a collection of villages anymore. It was now a proper city, and it had a mission: create a modern, functional community.
You know, it's easy to look at these concrete buildings today and call them repetitive or gray, but we have to remember they were absolutely essential. This style of architecture solved a massive social problem. It gave thousands of families good, quality homes surrounded by green spaces and playgrounds. This was architecture built for the community.
At the same time, another massive force was taking shape: Helsinki Airport. But this wasn't about housing people. This was about commerce, about connecting to the rest of the world. And it brought a totally new style with it: all glass facades and steel frames, a modern international look. Vantaa was literally becoming Finland's front door to the world.
Okay, so by the 1990s, the city had basically met its most urgent need. People had homes, so the focus could finally shift. It wasn't just about quantity anymore. Now it was about quality, comfort, and reconnecting with Finland's natural roots.
And you can see this evolution so clearly when you just look at how the city's priorities changed over time. The main goal? It went from speed and quantity to quality of life and comfort.
The key material is shifted from concrete back to wood and eco-materials. And the focus? It went from just providing housing to building entire sustainable communities. A huge change.
And this is where the story really comes full circle. Wood, Vantaa's very first building material, is back in a big way. But hold on, this isn't the simple logs from an old farmhouse. We're talking modern, engineered wood, being used to create these beautiful, sustainable buildings. Apartments, schools, you name it. It's like tradition meeting high-tech.
So today's design philosophy is much more holistic. It's about the whole picture. Step 1, design for people. That means walkable neighborhoods with services right there. Step 2, build with nature. Use eco-materials, put in green roofs. And step 3, focus on efficiency. That goes for energy, public transport, everything. It all comes together to build a city for a better everyday life.
So, after this whole journey through time, what is Vantaa's true identity? What is it really? Well, it's not one single style. It's actually something way more interesting than that.
The simple truth is, Vantaa does not have a single architectural style. You just can't point to one building and say, yep, that's Vantaa. And you know what? That's the whole point.
Instead, its identity comes from all these different layers of its history, all visible right there side by side. The city's history isn't tucked away in a museum. It's written right on the streets, where buildings from completely different eras are just neighbors.
You can literally take a walk through history there. You'll see the medieval stone church, and then maybe an old red farmhouse. You'll pass industrial brick factories, those gray concrete apartment blocks from the 70s, and then these sleek, modern wooden structures. Each one tells a different part of the story.
So in the end, Vantaa's story isn't one of grand ambitions or royal plans. It's a city that's been shaped by the real, practical, and ever-changing needs of everyday life. Its architecture is just a mirror, reflecting the journey of its people.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Vantaa's story is still being written, right? Just like every city's is. So maybe take a look around your own neighborhood. What layers of history can you see in the buildings around you? And what story is your city building today?